something that I grew to have a great appreciation for while I was in seminary. I say I kind of already liked it, but I've come to love Broadways and musicals. It might sound weird, but very much a big fan. And about a little over a year ago, someone put me onto one of my favorites now, actually, and you're going to laugh. It's called Hadestown. So you have a priest who loves the play about Hades. But it's a great play, and it's a modern rendition of a Greek tragedy about Orpheus and Eurydice. Eurydice is this poor young girl, and unfortunately looking for food, looking for shelter, just those basic earthly needs. And then as she meets Orpheus, it's kind of a funny story of how they meet, and they fall deeply in love, and it becomes their love which is what is able to sustain her. And then as they're unfortunately separated for a period of time, out comes Hades. And Hades offers all of these worldly comforts. I'll make sure you have food. I'll make sure you have shelter. I'll take care of everything that you might need. And when you're hungry and someone offers you food and someone offers you comforts, well, she quickly jumped on that train down to Hadestown. And when she arrives, there's something that she notices as she looks around. All the other people in Hadestown, number one, they all look the same. Number two, they're all downcast. And three, they don't even remember their own names. They've lost their very identities. They've lost the self of who they were. Now everything has become uniform. And yes, there is everything that Hades promised. There is food, there is work, there is all of those things. But slowly but surely, Eurydice falls into that, losing her very self down in Hadestown. But Orpheus, still very madly in love with Eurydice, walks the journey down to Hadestown, a very far and long walk, and is able to find her, call her by her name, evoke that love that is on her heart, and able to draw her away from Hadestown, to remind her of who she truly is. In our gospel, we have these two disciples, and I think it's important to remember that, in fact, they were following Christ. How many miracles of Christ did they witness? How many times they see him perform these incredible acts right in front of them? And then when they were separated from the Lord, when he took the cross, and like all the others, I'm sure they scattered in hiding. And it was now that third day, and they're hearing these words, people saying that he's not in the tomb, and that there's these angels that have appeared saying that he's actually alive. If they truly believed that, why would they have started walking home? I mean, imagine you have a family member, a friend, a coworker who's been dead for 3 days, someone that you've known really well, and then someone says, hey, they're not in their tomb anymore, and someone said they're alive. Would you go home somewhere? No, you're gonna think at minimum, you're curious. You've got to know what's going on. You're not just gonna walk home. And it says in our gospel, they were conversing and debating. I truly do not believe that as they were walking home, they believed any of these things, but in fact, we're like, it's probably crazy. Everyone's hoping that, but that didn't really happen. And so here they are walking, and they encounter Jesus along the way. And they don't recognize him at first as they're walking downcast, but as he starts to open up the scriptures to them, it says that their hearts were burning as they recognized that there was more there than what they could see. And in the breaking of the bread, they were finally able to fully realize who was walking with them. He called them to their true self. He was able to show them that love and able to open their eyes to who was standing in front of them. In our day-to-day life, we can get lost in mundaneness. We can get lost in, I need food, got to pay the bills, got to go to work. And we can get lost in all of those things, becoming very downcast, and essentially, without trying, separating ourselves from the love of God. And during this Easter season, it's not meant to be one day. Easter happens on one day, and then that's it. It's 50 days of celebration, and my hope is that during these 50 days, we can be like those disciples on the road, and as we walk this journey with Christ, our hearts can become even more aflame with the love of God, that we can come out of that mundaneness and recognize who is in front of us. Every liturgical season for the Eucharistic revival, we've been looking at different themes, and for Easter, as we looked at the scriptures, we said for Easter at St. Margaret Mary, we look at awake, arise, rejoice. Because it is the Lord who is the primary actor. Is the Lord, we are to be receptive to these things, but the Lord is the one who is doing the action. He is the one who is calling us out of our tombs, calling us out of the mundaneness of our everyday lives to recognize Him loving us in that moment. And every single day we celebrate Mass here, the Lord has not abandoned us. The Lord is willing to pour out His love into our hearts. It is not like Orpheus and Eurydice, where they were separated. There is no separation. The Lord is truly walking with us, and we are to rejoice in that fact that the Lord is walking this journey with us, because it is so easy to get lost into the world, to focus on those creature comforts that we all, yes, need. But do we allow the Lord's love to sustain us? Do we allow the Lord's love to bring us to rejoice into the world? Do we recognize Him in the breaking of the bread here at this altar as we receive the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist? Do we recognize these things? Or do we fall to the world, keeping our eyes downcast, separating ourselves from His love? But may we always, when we allow, as the Lord calls us out of our tombs, to awake, O sleeper, awake to the love of your Creator, receive His love here from this altar, that you might truly know and rejoice in Him.